This video is powered by, as always, entertainment. If you enjoyed this content, consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/asalways for access to the Patreon exclusive podcast, The Kill Connor Clubhouse, early access to the Cinema Room podcast, being part of polls for future videos, and other early access material. With that said, please enjoy the video. Hello everyone, how's it going, and welcome back to another episode of the Jazz Lounge, the series where I sit down in a 1920s jazz lounge with rain pattering on the windows, jazz band playing in the background, and we talk about video games. So, people have been asking me since I started this series to do one of these on Assassin's Creed, and the main reason, there's two reasons. One of the reasons is because everyone on my channel loves Assassin's Creed for some reason, and so that's obviously what people wanted. I'm not one to deny people what they want, unless it's Assassin's Creed related, but this time I'm not denying it. The reason being as well is because this series was born of the Chillcom series I used to do. I was looking back at a couple months ago, the Chillcom videos I used to do on Assassin's Creed, where I just sat down and talked about it for a little bit, and everyone really enjoyed it. And at the time I didn't get it. I was like, I don't think these are very good videos, but they made money and people loved them, so I was like, well, it's a win-win. Like, no one's complaining and I get money, so if you like it, I'll do it. And then eventually I just stopped it because I was like, I don't even like this being on my channel. But I went back and watched some of them and I was like, you know, these are actually pretty good. Like, I actually understand why people like them now, because you can just sort of sit down, play a game, and listen to like a half an hour video of, you know, someone talking about something you're interested in the background, unedited. It's quite impersonal, like, impersonal? No, it's quite personal. It's very sort of informal, I think is what I was trying to say. So I get that. And the reason I haven't talked about Assassin's Creed is because there was nothing happening. There was nothing to talk about. So that would have been really forced if I just did a Jazz Lounge on Assassin's Creed for no reason. But what I do with these Jazz Lounges, I like to talk about things that I don't think require a full video, that aren't big enough or important enough to make a whole video about. And obviously with this new Assassin's Creed Kingdom leak, I've talked about it. I've done the news video and I've gone over that, but people have been asking me to elaborate and talk about everything sort of revolving around this, and I thought, well, if people want in, you know, I don't want to make a full video on it, let's have a compromise. I'll do a Jazz Lounge. Why not? It's awesome. Anyways, I'll link in the description all of the previous Jazz Lounge episodes. I'll link to the playlist, so if you're interested in this, you're liking this, and you want to see the other Jazz Lounge episodes on various topics and whichever come to the future, then don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and go check out the playlist in the description. There might be something else there that you enjoy if you enjoy this style, because, you know, I know it's a very obscure audience that might like jazz and rain, but it's good stuff, so there's that. Anyways, let's hop into this. So I guess to begin, you've sort of got to watch my video talking about, you know, what the fuck is Assassin's Creed Kingdom? What is this leak? I'll link that in the description as well, so you can go and check out my news video to be all caught up, ready for this Jazz Lounge. Anyway, the setting essentially is Vikings, apparently, is what we're getting, and that comes from the Division 2, the poster in the Division 2, Jason Schreier. You know, it was I believe Joraptor covered it and was like, did that thing that I hate, not personal to Joraptor, I just mean the thing that I hate that people do in general, where they go, oh, look, an Easter egg, this means something, when 99% of the time it doesn't mean anything, and even if it lines up, it's likely a coincidence. Like, I can't stand that. Like, oh, there's a samurai outfit with an assassin logo, that must mean we're going to Japan. No, it doesn't mean that, it's just an Easter egg. And, oh, there's glyphs in the Assassin's Creed Revelations intro that has an Egyptian thing, a Greek thing, and a samurai thing, or whatever, and that must mean that's where we're going. No, it doesn't mean anything, does it? That was a long time ago. That was 7 years ago. It was 8 years ago. It means nothing. But this time, apparently, it did mean something. Because Jason Schreier has confirmed that he's heard reports of the same thing from two different reliable sources in the industry that say that the next Assassin's Creed game is going to be set in the Viking period, which is vague, of course. The Viking period, yeah, that's, you know, very vague, but, you know, that's interesting. So we all know Vikings, you know, they've got their boats with their you know, the sort of got like dragon heads on the front or something, like serpent heads or something, I don't know, and they got their horned helmets, and they got their bloody, this is all like fantasy Vikings I'm thinking of, I think. Yeah, I mean, if it depends what road we go down to which kind of Vikings we get. We're going to get fantasy Vikings, or we're going to get regular historical Vikings? Because if this were if this was before Odyssey, I'd be like, well, obviously they're going to go historically accurate. But after Odyssey, will they? Who knows? I mean, I'm here to talk about that. I think that there's two. I think that those are the two ways that it could go. However, there's one crucial thing here. That is, it's likely Montreal that's developing this game. I mean, it's definitely not Quebec. And I think that's the easily. This game isn't going to be a Quebec game. It's not going to be a bad game in the way Quebec games are bad. So it's not going to be a Syndicate or an Odyssey where things are just sort of like a joke. It's almost a parody of an Assassin's Creed game. You know what I mean? That's what Syndicate and Odyssey do. Syndicate was like a parody of Unity, and Odyssey is a parody of Origins. It's really odd. But what things will they keep? What things are they going to change? I mean, who really knows at this stage? That's the thing. This is said to be a next-gen title as well, which is interesting, because does that mean we're going cross-generation, or are we going just this is just next-gen? Is this just going to be the next Xbox, the PS5? And that's coming next year? That's very interesting if that's the case. They're developing this fully for next-gen, but it's coming... Okay, so they're alienating their entire Xbox One audience. See, this is why I believe it might be a Unity Rogue situation. But we'll get onto that later. So I think it's Montreal 3 that's developing this game, because I believe we heard somewhere that Montreal 3 and Quebec are the only teams working on Assassin's Creed now. The main teams, anyway, the lead teams. They get helped out from Singapore and Sofia, as they have done in the past. Montreal 1 hasn't made a game since Unity, and Montreal 2 hasn't made a game since AC3. So I can confidently say that Montreal 2 is never making an AC game again. That studio got dissolved, and Montreal 1's dev team, they don't seem to be about anymore. Like, what happened to all of the people working on that? What happened to Corey May? He's not around anymore. What happened to Alex Amancio? What happened to Patrice Desilets? Jeffrey O'Harlem's still around, but he pretty much does stuff for Quebec games. Now he's just sort of jumping around, because, he was never really with any particular team. The Montreal 1 is not about anymore. So it looks like the two main teams are Quebec and Montreal 3. And since Quebec just released a game, it looks to me like it's going to be Montreal 3. Now, this is interesting, because, for one, they haven't had a whole lot of time. If this is a next-gen game that's being released next year, and it's a next-gen game, an all-next-gen game made from the ground up for next-gen, similar to a Unity, this is worrying, actually, because they haven't had very long at all. They've had 3 years. That's not long. They had more time with Origins. They had 4 years with Origins. But with this game, they've only got 3 years, and they've got to build a whole game from the ground up for next gen. That's really odd to me. That seems very strange, and I think that's one of the reasons why I feel Jason Schreier may or may not have got things a little bit mixed up in the information that he's been hearing, because it could be a Unity Rogue situation, or it could not be that at all. It could be a Unity Rogue situation It's a late night. I've been drinking a lot in this jazz lounge. Been having a few martinis. Sorry, it's getting to my head. It could have a Unity Rogue Black Flag situation without the Rogue, and so remember in 2013, this is the same sort of situation. So just imagine AC3 didn't exist. So Revelations 2011. Imagine they skipped a game in 2012, and then in 2013, we got our next game, which is essentially what's happening here. We got 2018, we got Odyssey. 2019, skipping a year. 2020. We're getting our next game. Now, this will be the same situation as if in 2013, when the next-gen consoles released at the end of that year, they released Unity on it, and that was it. They just randomly released Unity, which they didn't do. They didn't do that at the end of 2013. They released Black Flag, which was a game that was cross-gen, because it ran on the 360 and the Xbox One, PS3, and PS5, obviously PC as well. But they had a slightly better version for next generation consoles, which was sort of like the main version. It was sort of like, this is the main version of the game that you want to play, but a sort of shitter version for the 360 and PS3. And that's what they did the year the next generation consoles came out. It wasn't until the year following that they released their full next gen title in Assassin's Creed Unity, once people had time to pick up all of these next gen consoles. They obviously still released Rogue for previous gen, but I don't think they'll do that again. So what makes sense to me is that the end of 2020, next year, when the next-gen consoles release, that Assassin's Creed, that Ubisoft, will release a game that is cross-gen, a game that comes out on previous generation and next-generation consoles, that takes inspiration from Origins and Odyssey, which makes sense to be the Rome game that was rumoured all the way back at the beginning of 2016 as the end to this Ancients trilogy that was leaked along with Empire, which ended up being Origins. And so it makes sense to me that is something they would do. Now, this is all complete conjecture. It's not based on anything but my own analysis of the way Ubisoft operates. So Bear with me a little bit. That's sort of what these videos are. It's a lot of conjecture, a lot of speculation. But I know people love a bit of speculation, so there you go. But I feel that's sort of like what makes sense. It's sort of the Ubisoft model to do, is so the end of 2020 they'll release their Rome game, which will have a slightly better version on next gen, a game that runs a bit not as good and looks a bit worse on previous gen, coming out at the end of 2020, and then 2021 is where they can release their big next gen title once everyone's had a chance to get the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox, right? That makes sense to me. But who knows if that's the way they're going? What if they're jumping the gun this time? I mean, and also that would give Montreal plenty of time to work on this next Assassin's Creed game, to get it finished, to get it done, and not have another Unity on your hands. And so, I think there's two major ways that you can take this information. Is either Jason Schreier has got it wrong, and it's actually coming 2021 is the next gen game, and 2020 will be something else, or they're releasing two games at the same time, similar to Unity and Rogue. But at the same time, it's like, how the fuck has this team made this whole next-gen game to release at the end of 2020? 3 years? So as soon as they finished Origins, they started working on this, and they've somehow finished it in 3 years. That is crazy. Games, with the progression of hardware, games are taking longer and longer and longer to make these days. And it seems insane to me that they have made this game so quickly. I would, if I heard an Assassin's Creed game had 3 years in development, I would be like, it's probably not done. It's like with Odyssey. There's some major issues with Odyssey that could have been ironed out with another year. It's the same with Unity. It's the same with Syndicate. It's the same with AC3. The only games that really did well because they had a little bit longer was Black Flag and Origins, because they had that little bit longer that they needed, to develop further, and those are the only ones that really have done that. And so it is worrying to me that they haven't had the full amount of time when Montreal 3's always been given the time that they need. So I think there's something within this that's not connecting for me. It's either not the Origins team that's working on it, it's either not coming out until 2021, or there's something else here. Like, it's not, I don't think that this is the full story, because there's no way Ubisoft would risk another Unity. It was the biggest failure I think they've probably ever had, and they took a major fucking hit because of it. And so, Assassin's Creed hasn't sold as well as it did prior to Unity since Unity happened. Unity is their best-selling game since Unity. Origins didn't take over it. Odyssey hasn't overtaken it. Rogue, these games, the Assassin's Creed name isn't the same as it used to be. Assassin's Creed used to sell incredibly well regardless of anything, and that was how it's always been from Assassin's Creed 1 all the way up to Unity. And then after Unity, it just lost a lot of its credibility. Don't get me wrong, it still sells millions of copies, but it doesn't sell as much as Unity did, or prior to Unity, with like AC3 selling insane amounts, Black Flag, Assassin's Creed 2, like, these games sold so much, but Origins and Odyssey don't do that. And so it's strange to me that they would release a game that's only been in development for 3 years, specifically for next gen, in 2020. That seems mad to me. And, like, why would they risk another Unity situation? And so maybe that's specifically not the case. But regardless of that, let's pretend that everything's all good and it's ready to come out 2020 or whenever it comes out. Now, the question that a lot of people have is, will this be more like Odyssey or Origins, or maybe like an older Assassin's Creed game, or where are we taking this game? Now, I have confidence that, because this isn't Quebec making this game, I have confidence this will be a serious, well-handled Assassin's Creed title. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be an Ezio trilogy. It's not going to be a Black Flag, I don't think. It's not going to be one of these games. It could very well be. If it's Montreal 3, it could turn around and be one of these brilliant, fantastic, best Assassin's Creed games. But this is... So, the issue that Ubisoft has is they make a great game, or at least a game with great foundation. So take Unity, for example. A game with brilliant ideas, a great foundation, didn't have enough time to complete those. And then rather than doubling down and being like, fuck it, let's just do this but better because there's amazing potential here, they cast it aside, and then Quebec fucked it up and released Syndicate. We gotta remember, Syndicate is nothing like Unity. Other than running on the same engine, they're really not the same. They're very different games, and Unity has an atmosphere and a tone and a vibe that Syndicate couldn't even hope to capture. And Syndicate is just a parody of what Unity tried to do. And they did the same with Origins to Odyssey. Origins was, a great, grounded, story-driven character experience that Doesn't do immersion as good as the older Assassin's Creed games, but does immersion far better than Odyssey did. And it's just a really solid game. There's some obviously there's some issues with the side content and things like that, repetitiveness, maybe the size of the world, things like that. And they could have ironed that out and fixed that in the next game, but they didn't. Quebec took over and they made a parody and just fucked it. This great thing they had going with Origins, Quebec fucked it. They were just like, fuck this, let's just fuck it up. And they did that. They did the same from Unity to Syndicate as they did with Origins to Odyssey. And so, to me, it's a very obvious pattern. And you seem to see when they then go back to Montreal after being with Quebec, we get a good game again. And so, I am pretty confident as long as this game has had enough time. You know, let's say that is irrelevant whether it's had enough time or not. Let's just forget that part of the story, because that's a whole different fucking can of worms. But let's say that is the case and everything's fine and there's been enough time and all that stuff, then this game could be a great game. Could be a really fun, solid experience if it's made by Montreal, who takes Assassin's Creed seriously, who knows Assassin's Creed. You know, we've seen it time and time again. With Unity, that had a bit more time, you know, could have been a brilliant game. And it's, you know, I much prefer, you know, something like Unity to Odyssey or Syndicate, because there's something about it that has heart. It feels like they tried to make an Assassin's Creed game, and I really appreciate that a lot more now than I did when it released, because, you know, when it released, it was simply the worst thing I'd ever seen. Day One Unity is one of the worst things I've ever played, and so I appreciate Unity a lot more now than I did at the time, because at the time, you know, we had a bunch of other games that were way better, and this is like, well, what the fuck is this mess? But at the point we're at now, it's like, I really appreciate what they tried to do with Unity. There was a lot of ambition in that. There was a lot of trying to take it back to its roots, trying to take it back to AC1. I think that Unity captured something that Assassin's Creed hasn't since the first game. And that's the oppressive feeling of walking through the cities. That lonely feeling of feeling like you are Altair alone in this world that's just trying to kill you. And, you know, you don't know what's around each corner. You feel like you've got to abide by the social norms, because if you don't, you're going to get attacked. And the guards are terrifying in Assassin's Creed 1 and Unity. And I think that Unity captured that so well. And it's something that the Ezio trilogy didn't. Everything was so happy and sunny, and, you know, Florence and Rome and everything. And, you know, AC3 and Black Flag didn't really get that, but Unity did so well, and the ideas that were there should have been elaborated on. That was what a next-gen Assassin's Creed should have been. It just needed a fuck ton more time, but they didn't do it. And then they just threw it away and cast aside to Quebec, and then we got Origins and Odyssey, which, as much as I love Origins, it doesn't have the same sort of, it doesn't stay as grounded to Assassin's Creed as something like a Unity tried to do but failed to do. And so, you know, it didn't fail to do because they got it wrong. They failed to do it because they didn't have enough time. Because the vibe is still there. It's just a really messy game, which is a shame. But, and I think that's the thing. Like, where do we go next? Because I don't think that Montreal wants to make an Odyssey. The same way that Montreal didn't want to make a Syndicate. Because although Syndicate got a fuck ton of praise, as Assassin's Creed games always do, they didn't go down that route. They stripped things back. They went, right, let's make this a serious, invested story. Let's do this properly. And they released Origins with that, and it was very story focused, very character based, very down to earth and grounded, as Assassin's Creed should be, which was very different from the whimsical comedy Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And it's almost like we could see the same again. We got Origins, which was, you know, a serious reinvention, same as Unity, a serious reinvention. Then we got Syndicate and Odyssey, which were, you know, parodies with jokes, which were just sort of having a laugh with crazy stuff. And then we get Montreal again. And what do we get next? Possibly a reinvention, possibly a return to form in terms of the vibes we get, the tone that we get, and the direction they head. I'm not expecting this to have social stealth. I'm not expecting this to have black box missions. I'm not expecting this to have investigations and feel like an old school Assassin's Creed title. I'm not expecting it as much as I'd love it. But I am expecting this to not be an Odyssey. I'm expecting this game to have good writing. I'm expecting this game to feel grounded and realistic. I'm expecting this game to have a well-written character. I'm expecting this game to have vibes that I can, you know, feel immersed with, and an atmosphere that I can enjoy. I'm expecting that because Montreal has always delivered on those things, even when they fucked up other things. And I think that's something that I really appreciate, because for all of Assassin's Creed 3's flaws and faults, they aren't the same flaws and faults that you find in Syndicate and Odyssey. And those are the faults that I probably hate the most, are the faults that you find in Odyssey and Syndicate, because they're just not true to the franchise. They feel like the black sheep of the bunch. They feel like the games that don't fit with the rest. You know, they're just not Assassin's Creed games to me. They're just silly, light-hearted action games, and that's fine if you really enjoy that, but they're not my thing. I don't like them. And Montreal has never made those. They've made games that I do enjoy. And so, if this is Montreal working on this game, which it really, really should be, because it can't be Quebec, unless it's a side studio. You know, this next game has got to be Montreal. And that does get me excited, because I like Montreal's Assassin's Creed games. That's just a fact. I do like them. Whether it is Montreal 1, 2, or 3. I mean, not 2, because they only made 3, but you know what I mean. I give them another go, I reckon they could do it, because the main issues that come from Assassin's Creed 3, I mean, the setting is not great, but it's mainly the story. If you gave them another go or gave them a little bit more time, they probably could have ironed it out and made a decent game out of it. You know, it's something that's at the heart of Quebec's games is something that they try to do. I think this is the main issue, is the faults that I find in Quebec games come from what they've tried to do, not clicking with what I want. Whereas the faults with Montreal's games come from mistakes. They haven't tried to have the story be bad and clunky. They haven't tried to have the game not be finished. They haven't tried to make the setting boring. They're just mistakes. They're accidents. And you can see at the heart of what they do is trying to make something good. Whereas with Quebec games, like I said, what they're trying to make, I don't like. It's nothing to do with Quebec made a mistake and made Odyssey bad, or Quebec made a mistake and that made Syndicate bad. They did exactly what they set out to do, and I don't like the final product. And that is the issue I have with Quebec games. I haven't really realised that until saying that just now. That's the issue I have with Quebec games, is what they're trying to make, I don't want. Whereas with Montreal, the issues aren't that they're trying to make something that I don't like. What they're trying to make is something that I want. But their flaws come from mistakes or the fact they don't have enough time. And so I like Montreal's games, and I like their vision, and I like their direction. So I am looking forward to whatever Montreal puts out next in terms of Assassin's Creed. I don't expect it, of course. Like, I'm not saying that in terms of I expect it to be, you know, a proper Assassin's Creed game with modern day and, you know, social stealth and all this stuff, because I think that's, you know, that's a thing of the past now. If it came back, I would be astonished and amazed that they took the risk in making a proper Assassin's Creed game in 2020. But I don't think 2020? That doesn't sound right at all. It has to be 2020. 2020? That sounds so odd. Sorry. But yeah, I'd be astonished if that's what they did. But they won't do that. And so, all I can really hope for and all I really want is more of an Origins type game than an Odyssey. One that takes itself seriously. One that has a really immersive, grounded world. I know Origins also had like unicorns and shit, but that's not really the same, is it? They didn't really push that on you. I never really used one. I never even saw it. So that's fine. But you know, Origins had that more grounded story, more character focused, more gritty, more dark, and I really loved that. And I that's what I'm expecting to get from Montreal moving forward, because Quebec makes the funny, silly games that are dumb and stupid, and Montreal makes the serious, character focused, down-to-earth, grounded experiences. And so that's what I'm really looking forward to be honest with you. I think that that's what we're going to be getting. I mean, like I said, this whole video has been conjecture, speculation, a look back at the Empire days, if you will. We did a news video, we did a speculation video, and now we're fucking done. Or are we? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think so. We're done. I think we're done. I don't want to make this a common thing. But maybe there'll be subjects to talk about in the future. But we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But I think that's about all I have here for this video. I mean, there's not much else I really want to talk about on this topic. I think that, will they change engine? See, this is difficult as well, actually. That's a topic. Actually, I will talk about this. That is a topic. Because when you move to whole generations, like the difference between Black Flag to Unity was insanely different. That was a huge difference. They completely reinvented it. Entirely new engine. Will Ubisoft do that moving forward? Will that be when they jump to next gen? Will we see a change in engine, a whole new engine with a whole new style of gameplay? Because I just find that so difficult to believe, because on the one hand, when you're moving onto a new piece of hardware, you really don't want to keep the same engine. You want to reinvent. You want to move forwards. You want to try and make this way better. You want to try and push the boundaries and see how far you can push this new hardware. That's really what you want to do when moving forward, when onto a new generation of consoles, like they did from Black Flag to Unity. But at the same time, I don't see them wanting to throw away the successful formula they found in Origins and Odyssey, with the RPG formula that works so well and everything that's been selling so well. So that's complicated. Maybe they'll just take the formula and they'll apply it to a brand new engine. Maybe that's what they'll do moving forwards. With this next game, they'll really develop a brand new engine and apply this formula to that. That probably makes a lot more sense. Or we could see something entirely different. I mean, this is why I'm so excited for this, to be honest with you. So excited for, just to see where they go. Interested is probably a more appropriate word than excited. But I'm very interested because, where do you go now? It's not as predictable, I don't think, especially considering we thought we were getting Rome. Like, this is sort of out of nowhere. It's like they've only been developing this for 3 years. It's entirely next gen. There's no Rome game. They're completely moving time period. Is it going to be a new engine? It's for the next gen consoles. Like, this is interesting to see exactly how this game turns out. This could be a copy and paste of Origins Odyssey for another generation, just set in another time period. But the thing is, they've got to develop entirely new assets and everything. It feels to me as if this will be more of a reinvention that could take inspiration from popular games of now. They could completely reinvent it with new combat, new interactions, a new way of navigating the world. Like, this could be entirely different. This could be, we've seen how well Red Dead's done. We've seen how well God of War's done. Let's take inspiration from those games instead of from The Witcher 3, which is old news now. You know what Ubisoft like to do. So, who knows? Who really knows where this is going to go? I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm so sorry I rambled on for so long, but I'm sure nobody minds a single bit. But I thought I'd do one of these, and obviously if you're interested in jazz lounges in the future, don't forget to check out the playlist in the description. Don't forget to subscribe for more of this stuff. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about in the future in the description, but let me know your thoughts. Where do you think they're going with this? Because to me, the most likely idea is that this will just be another Origins Odyssey game. It'll be more of an Origins, I think, because it's Montreal and they make more grounded experiences. But I think that they'll keep the dialogue options. They'll keep the choice between male and female. But it'll be more of an Origins in the tone and atmosphere and vibe. And that'll be the game, and it'll just be set in Vikings with maybe it'll look way more realistic because it's, next gen. But that seems the most appropriate to me. But the only thing in the back of my mind is how do they do that without, because I've got to move to a whole new engine. Maybe they'll reinvent. Who knows? This could go a fuck ton of ways, but I've kind of tried to talk about everything and go over it all in this video. So, let me know your thoughts based on everything I've talked about. I'm so sorry for rambling on, but hopefully you enjoyed this. Just in the background of playing a game or something, doing some collectibles, because I know I've been enjoying it. I've been playing. This is so weird. I've been playing Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, and just in my free time, I've been playing Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered whilst listening to podcasts in the background. Because I've just been I've had this sudden wave of wanting to 100% games, and I've wanted to 100% Assassin's Creed 3 for some reason. It was just sort of an easy one to do. It's a new game that came out, Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered. It's new, and so I've never done it before because I didn't like Assassin's Creed 3 so much when it came out that I just never did any of the side stuff. I did a couple of the homestead missions, which I liked, but I was like, no, I don't want to play this anymore. So I just stopped playing Assassin's Creed 3. I never did any of the side stuff. Never did any of the Assassin Recruit stuff, which are actually good. Legit, okay, this is a tangent here, but Assassin's Creed 3's Liberation missions, I think they're called, which are, doing all these different missions around a certain district, which essentially was a precursor to the Burrows system in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and essentially sort of works like a, I don't know, it's difficult to explain. It works like that, so, you do all these little mini missions in a certain district, and that'll reveal a main target for you to take out, and so it's pretty good. But the targets will have a backstory, and also in each one of them you meet a new assassin recruit that Connor gets to bond with, and actually it's really good. It's really good. I'd love for them to reintroduce this into a future game. I know they won't do it, but I would like them to in some way because I've really liked it. I've always said that I feel like a side mission there should be side assassination black box missions where they're made specific just for side quests. This is an Assassin's Creed game. This is called, you're playing as an assassin. Why is all the side content not based around that? I've never understood that. That's very strange to me. Why would you not build an Assassin's Creed game with the whole assassin fantasy in the back of your mind of this is what the game should do. It should deliver on that assassin fantasy of, you know, you can go and get assassin contracts and each one has a story. So instead of doing like these, so this is completely off topic now, but instead of doing like these Witcher 3 style, you know, side story missions, you could easily Assassin's Creedify it. Rather, that's an official word now, Assassin's Creedify something, but instead of doing your you know, just copying The Witcher 3 and just doing, oh, there's an NPC, we talk to them, they give us a little story, and then we do a little mission, and that's a side quest, like The Witcher 3 does, or like Horizon does, and the same way they did in Origins and Odyssey. You could easily make it fit Assassin's Creed. You have, like, you can recruit assassins around the city, you have assassins, you talk to them, it could work sort of like the assassin missions from Revelations, but take it to the next level, where you would then talk to one of your recruits, and you'd have a little story with this character that you could then bond with as a side character. You'd have you'd have all these specific recruits that you can optionally recruit around these cities, and they would then play into your story as an assassin. And then you can get missions from them that'll be like, there's a Templar here, so you have to then do the investigation. So the black box mission would then be like, you have to go around this whole city, you know which district this Templar is in, you go to that district, you do your investigations, whether it be finding your eavesdropping, whether it be breaking into a house, finding a letter, pickpocketing, you know, all of these things, interrogation, and they can all be, versatile. So maybe you could do a pickpocket, he notices you and starts running, and that turns into a chase. You have to then grab him, interrogate him, maybe you knock him out and you steal a letter. And then when you do all these investigations, that then leads on to the black box mission, and this is all side stories, and that way you can cut out doing side quest missions, because I mean, you can still have a few here and there, but you can then cut out all of the time you spent writing dialogue and animating and setting up missions that are like for random NPCs in the world. They can all be based around being an assassin. It makes so much more sense than just stripping what Witcher 3 did and applying it to Assassin's Creed. Take that whole concept of side storylines, not just side missions, but side storylines, and apply it to being an assassin in Assassin's Creed. It makes so much more sense, and you can have amazing black box missions then, where you're assassinating these side targets that have their own story in the world, their own grip on the country or city that you're in, and you also then meet side assassins that you can recruit at the same time, and they have stories as well, and that would be great. And that then ties into maybe your hideout that you're slowly building up. As you get more recruits, you build up more of your hideout as well, and that allows you to get more recruits. And you know, these systems all work together so well and keeps the gameplay loop interesting, I think, in terms of the open world side missions. But what do I know? I've just been playing the series for 11 years, that's fine. Anyway, my voice is getting all croaky and I don't have a drink, so I've been talking for 32 minutes, I'm so sorry. This has gone on for so fucking long. 33 minutes now. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for joining. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I just can't help myself but talk about Assassin's Creed. I kind of go off on one, but sometimes you need that. You need to let it all out, you know what I'm saying? Go check out my newest episode of Quickfire Topics. It was a good one. I talk a little bit about Assassin's Creed Lore Masters in there and how that could work, as well as a bunch of other good topics, and I think it's a really good laugh, so check that out. That's one of my newest videos on my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Worked hard on it. Thank you. As well as any other stuff, AC3 review is up there. Obviously, the information about Kingdom is also linked in the description. That'll all be down there, as well as my other jazz lounges, which are down there as well. So go and check those out. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll bloody see you all later on. Goodbye, gaming lads. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. See you later, boys. Bye.